Alrighty, welcome back, guys. And tonight is a very special night because the results are in for the fall top 5 list of Democrat politicians who are completely full of dog shit. And guess who has successfully knocked out Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for the #1 slot? Now, not to cause you guys too much suspense, but this was an extremely fierce competition. There are a ton of names that are on the list. Positions were shifting around rapidly as the competition progressed. Different politicians vying for different spots, but the #1 spot has to go to my beloved governor of the wonderful free state of California, Gavin Zedong Newsom. So let's all give Gavin Newsom a hand for winning this extremely prestigious award. Of course, to be respectful for all the participants, we're going to go through the full top 5. So coming in at #2 is my friend over from New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo. Of course, Andrew Cuomo made the #2 spot, knocking Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez down to #3 because apparently Andrew Cuomo is now an anti-vaxxer simply because the vaccination is being developed when Trump is president. If you actually followed the development of the vaccine, you'd know that like 5 private companies were competing to release a vaccine, and there probably will be several different companies that end up producing a vaccine. So it's quite interesting that Andrew Cuomo has now become an anti-vaccination advocate, despite the fact that it's not actually Trump himself, obviously, who's down in the lab mixing up chemicals. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to #3. Previously #1, it's actually pretty amazing, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is somehow not #1. She's now #3. So if you guys remember from a previous video, the #4 slot was in fact taken up by Jenny Durkin. She actually got bumped down to #4 by Gavin Newsom in my last video. But man, Gavin is really coming at this competition strong and fierce this time around in the fall. And what we're going to look at in a second obviously puts him at #1. But unfortunately for Jenny Durkin, she got knocked off the list in favor of my boy Ted Wheeler. This is an awesome image of Ted Wheeler that we have up on the screen right here. This is right after he tried to go out and reason with BLM and Antifa activists. And unfortunately, he not only got shouted down by them and had to leave, but then also got tear gassed because there was a violent protest that he decided to participate in. And finally, last but not least, we have the #5 position. This is going to go ahead and go to Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, of course, makes the list because she seems completely unwilling to accept any stimulus deal that doesn't top like $6 trillion or something, an additional $6 trillion or something like that, which is quite remarkable considering we've already spent something like 7 to 9 trillion or something like that on this stimulus. Now, just briefly before I get into this, let's talk about the stimulus deal. I think there shouldn't be any stimulus. I actually think that Trump should withhold federal funding from states if they don't reopen. But that's just my opinion. So all that being said, guys, that is the top 5 list of Democrat politicians who are completely full of dog shit. And this is the fall edition of this competition. I'm sure that as the winter rolls around, as we get into 2021, the competition is going to heat up even more, and we might even have a changing of the guard. Perhaps AOC is going to come out and come back to #1. Who knows? Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the reasons why Gavin Newsom made the #1 spot this time around. And that has to do with the new holiday guidance for what we are supposed to do in California for Christmas and Thanksgiving. Now, I started watching some other YouTube videos where I got alerted to this, and I immediately decided that I needed to go ahead and make a video myself. I looked up the guidelines, they're on the screen here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This guidance provides an updated plan for Californians to gather outside their household and replaces prior gathering guidance issued on these dates. It applies to private gatherings, and all other gatherings not covered by existing sector guidance are prohibited. I don't know what's not prohibited at this point, except for maybe going out in the street, gathering in the tens of thousands to the hundreds of thousands protesting race, but whatever. Gatherings are defined as social situations that bring together people from different households at the same time in a single space or place. When people from different households mix, this increases the risk of transmission of COVID-19. Of course, we already all know that. So let's look at what the guys. So they have these seven rules, right? So let me just, before I go into a rant about this, I'm not actually sure how California could ever enforce this or if they ever actually plan on enforcing it. I mean, it says that it's guidance. So basically, that means that our tax dollars went to somebody typing up a Word document, probably for 40 to maybe 60 hours, trying to like figure all this out and get all their references right. Basically, to just say that like none of this is actually enforceable by law, so it doesn't actually matter. So thanks, Gavin Newsom, for taking my tax money to do stupid stuff like this. But let's go ahead and look. Number 1, attendance. Gatherings that include more than 3 households are prohibited. All right, well, that's not like a huge number of households, right? I mean, like my grandma, for example, had 7 children, and those 7 children are completely grown and also have their own children. So does that mean that my grandma has to pick and choose which people she celebrates with of her children? And if it's only 3 households, including her own household, then she can only choose 2. I mean, yeah, we're not doing this, Gavin. Sorry. Remember, the smaller the number of people, the safer. Yeah, no shit. Keep the households that you interact with stable over time. By spending time with the same people, risk of transmission is reduced. Participating in multiple gatherings with different households or groups is strongly discouraged. Yeah, I think we'll kind of just do what we want there. If someone from a household has been sick, we're obviously going to be respectful and polite to one another and let each other know, because that's kind of what you need to trust the citizens of your state to be able to do, right? Is to be responsible and respectful. But apparently not. Apparently we need to be handheld through everything we do in life, according to Gavin Newsom. So, it makes sense that he makes number 1 on the list. The host should collect the names of all attendees and contact information in case contact tracing is needed later. Okay, yeah, we're not doing that. Number 2, gather outdoors. Oh, sweet, yeah. So, as it turns out, there is actually rain that occurs in California, and it can get pretty cold. So I don't really think we're going to be gathering outdoors, but let's just see what they have to say. Gatherings that occur outdoors are significantly safer than indoor gatherings, although they're not perfectly safe. This doesn't say that they're perfectly safe, so maybe all the riots and the looting and the protests that we had in the streets shouldn't have been condoned. Huh. I don't know, just some food for thought. All gatherings must be held outside. Attendees may go inside to use restrooms as long as the restrooms are frequently sanitized. All right, I'll remember to hire a professional custodian for my Thanksgiving gathering. Thanks, Gavin. Yeah, right. Gatherings may occur in outdoor spaces that are covered by umbrellas, canopies, awnings, roofs, and other shade structures that provide at least 3 sides of space, or 75% are open to the outdoors. Oh, so here they're trying to define what actually constitutes an outdoor space. Jeez, man. Like what's so stupid about this is that like there was probably like a broad committee of people that actually like came together and like worked on this document like over a significant number of hours in time. Like this is the kind of stuff that your tax money goes to. I'm not going to read all of this. Let's just go to number 3. Don't attend gatherings if you feel sick or you're in a high risk group. I mean, did I really need the government to tell me that? Like, come on, guys. 4, practice physical distancing and hand hygiene at gatherings. Okay, fair recommendation. Take that into account. Let's see if there's any other gems in here. Seating must provide at least 6 feet of distance in all directions, front to back and side to side, between different households. What? So, guys, you're going to seat it? Like, I'm looking around my room, like, if I had to seat, like, people 6 feet apart, I could only have, like, 3 people in here. And everybody would have to have their own table. Like, what? What are they talking about? Shared items should not be used during a gathering. As much as possible, any food or beverages at outdoor gatherings must be in single-serve disposable containers. Oh, well, what if cousin Johnny over there has the coronavirus and then he goes to hand me a soda and he touches the lip and then I go to touch the lip, but I've touched something else that Sally has touched over there who also might be infected, and then what do I need to like alcohol swap? I mean, guys, like this is kind of what I've talked about in other videos about how it's just absolutely untenable to like completely stop the spread. Like we're just going to have to accept the fact that at some point in time most of us are probably going to get the virus and most of us are probably going to be okay. And if you're in a high risk group, then be careful. But also, if you're like 90 years old, like my grandma, and you want to see your great grandkids, your grandkids, and your kids, like you're just going to have to accept some level of risk, and everybody's just going to have to do the best they can and be as respectful as possible, right? Keep it short. Gatherings should be 2 hours or less. Give me a break. How many fucking pardon my language, how many friggin' Thanksgiving and Christmas gatherings only last 2 hours? Yeah, right. Now they have rules for singing, chanting, and shouting at outdoor gatherings. Okay, no. So this goes back to like kind of one thing that I mentioned in passing earlier, which is, how do you actually enforce any of this stuff, right? And if you can't actually enforce any of this stuff, or you're not going to enforce any of this stuff, then this is a waste of time. Everybody already knows this. We've been dealing with the pandemic for like 7 months now. We've known about it basically since January, and we've been taking these extreme precautions since March. So that's like a full 9 months that everybody in the world has had a chance to realize that COVID-19 is a thing and you should be careful about it. All right? And that's about it. So let me take a moment to just speak for Gavin Newsom here. So I'm going to pretend I'm Gavin Newsom. Hi, California. As you guys might have guessed, there's COVID-19 going on. Also, the holidays are coming up. So here's what you can do. Do the best you can. Try to wash your hands. If you're sick, stay home. But the holidays are an important part of American tradition. They're an important part of my life. They're an important part of a lot of people's lives. It's important to be with family. It's important to be with loved ones. It's important to not walk around thinking that everybody is just a filthy, germ-infested cesspool, right? Be careful about this. If you're sick, stay home. And happy holidays. Peace. This kind of stuff gets me worked up, especially because, California has some of the highest taxes on just about everything anywhere, and what our tax dollars go to is garbage like this. Basically just trying to limit your freedoms and control every little, meticulously control every little, minutia of your life for really absolutely no benefit to you at all. I mean, if you're in a high-risk group, be careful. If you're not in a high-risk group, well, be careful too so that you don't get high-risk group people sick, but also your chances of surviving are really, really good. As a matter of fact, let's just look up the stats in San Diego really fast. So at the moment right now, in my age demographic of 30 to 39 years old in San Diego County, which is a population of, I think, 13 million, if I remember correctly. That don't quote me on that, but there have been 6 deaths in my age demographic. Like millions of people, there have been 6. Let's look at how many cases have been in age 30 to 39. 9,652. Pull out the old calculator. 6 divided by 9,652. That's a death rate of less than 0.1%. Okay, let's go ahead and look at my parents' age group just for example. 60 to 69 years, 4321, 159. 159 divided by 4321, a 3.7% chance of dying, not even including whether or not pre-existing conditions factor into these numbers right here. So if you are in the age bracket of 60 to 69 years old in San Diego, you have a 96% survival rate. All right, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and conclude the video right there. I know that this was like a little bit of a last-minute rant and maybe a little bit frantic and obviously irritated. But that being said, if you agree or disagree, feel free to leave a comment below. If you have your own set of holiday guidelines that you think are good, leave them in the comments below. Of course, if you guys think that I'm just completely off the rails and everybody needs to lock themselves in and we maybe shouldn't even have holiday gatherings, of course you're welcome to leave a comment below and I will consider your input. So with that, guys, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and yeah, good night.